Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks to each of you for being here. Mr. Rupert, I'd like to start with you. Our discussion of wildland fires often focuses on forest fires, but rangeland fires also cause a whole lot of damage in the West each year, and that includes a lot of damage in my state of Utah. The Bureau of Land Management, as you know, manages over 1,400 separate grazing allotments in Utah, covering 22 million acres of land in my state. So it's a vast expanse. It affects the lives and livelihoods of a lot of Utahns. What can you tell me about what BLM's plans might be to expand existing wildfire prevention strategies that are specific to rangelands and the forest floor?
Well, to your point, thank you for the question. To your point, interior, nearly 550 million acres that we administer, a relatively small portion of that is forest, and we manage large areas of rangeland, brushland, grassland, other habitat types. So as you described, the risk that we interact with is not just forest, and the Great Basin is a perfect example of that. Interior and BLM, I think from my perspective, have made great progress even over the last, half a decade plus in terms of focusing in and prioritizing work around fire risk in the Great Basin. There's still a lot of work to go there. As we're focused now on this engagement around active management, as we're focused on implementing things like the executive order, like the secretarial order to better integrate our land management activities with our fire management activities, and really specifically what I think that looks like in terms of the opportunity we have is as we're planning land management activities, we now have put in place, a very clear expectation that those land management planning efforts and then the activities, the management that follow will be informed with a sense of high priority to reducing fire risk as well. And so that takes, in terms of actual management activities, it's everything from prescribed fires we talked about earlier to mechanical treatment to where we can find public-private partnerships and we can leverage that kind of opportunity. Absolutely, that's a priority. Grazing is a piece of that as well. It really is an all-the-above strategy, and the progress I think you'll see us making in the short term is as we better integrate that in a very deliberate way into how we're planning to do our land management activities, not essentially having fire management working here and land management working there, but actually fire and land management working in a very integrated way.
If you manage your grazing allotments carefully and you allow appropriate grazing, that can help suppress fires. It can help limit the fuel that fire would need to burn.
Shauna shared during her opening remarks the fire triangle. So fire intensity, fire behavior is actually a fairly simple, it's a fairly sort of simple relationship. It's those three things. It's weather, topography. Neither of those we can't control day to day. And fuel. Fuel we can affect, and that's I think, that's a way to help explain why the focus on active management, why the focus on reducing vegetation, because that's the one thing we can really affect.
Now, there are some circumstances in which a single fire might affect BLM land and Forest Service land simultaneously, correct?
Oh, absolutely.
In that circumstance, it's possible that you'll have different recommendations, different strategies from the Forest Service than you have from BLM. How do you handle that?
So, well, in the case of, if there's a wildfire on the ground burning, there's a long, well-established, interoperable framework in place. And it's not just Interior and the Forest Service, it's the federal family, it's the state family, it's local capacity, all of the members that make up the interagency fire community. When a wildfire is on the ground burning and that incident is being responded to, the incident management framework we have in place is actually pretty seamless. And to be honest with you, there aren't a lot of good examples or a lot of examples out there where we're at odds with priorities or strategies to interact with that incident. It's actually quite an impressive framework that we have in place with incident management. So we don't struggle with a lot of those issues from my perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Rupert. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.